Hi, welcome to Common Core Algebra 2. Today's lesson is 3.7 Systems of Linear Equations. Now this is nothing new. You should remember systems of equations from Algebra 1. And on the bottom in exercise 1, we're going to start with a little review of that. So there were two different ways that we could solve a systems basically. And one was by substitution and one by elimination. So I'm going to slide down just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to take a look at these. And the first time we're going to look at using substitution, and then a second way is to use elimination. Substitution is always a good way to use, a good method to use when you have one of them solved for a variable already. Now this one is not solved for a variable, but very easily we can subtract 2x from both sides and rewrite this one as y equals negative 2x minus 7. And then use substitution. So now basically what I mean by that is I know y is equal to negative 2x minus 7. So I can write down the other equation in my systems, which is this, and I can substitute my y. So 3x plus 2, whatever y is equal to negative 9. So I can take that negative 2x minus 7, put it in here, and continue solving from this point. So I get 3x plus a negative 4x minus 14 is equal to negative 9. I combine these two and I get negative x minus 14 equals negative 9. Add 14 to both sides. And negative x is equal to positive 5. So x is equal to negative 5. Then I need to make sure at this point I write down both my originals because now I need to solve for the other variable, in this case which is the y. So I write down both my originals, and this is what I usually teach both of my classes. 2x plus y is equal to negative 7. Now I'm going to slide this down. Again, if you need to pause this at any time, you pause and you write, or you just watch and then at the end go back and rewrite it. So now I have x is equal to negative 5, and I'm going to substitute it into one of these equations. Now, I think I'm going to use the one on the right. It doesn't really matter. So 2 times x plus y is equal to negative 7. Negative 10 plus y is equal to negative 7. Add 10 to both sides, and y is equal to 3. Now, I'm pretty confident about these answers, but I always want to make sure I take a minute and always check whenever I can. So 3 times x plus 2 times y is equal to negative 9. So negative 15 plus 6, does that equal negative 9? Yes, it does. And remember, that check isn't a requirement generally of the problem, but it's something you need to do to make sure that you are able to go ahead knowing that that question was right. Now, the next one, I'm not going to do that one in its entirety, but I am going to start it. So again, if you want to pause here and take a look at that substitution problem, that's a good idea. But we're going to move up now to same problem. Same problem. We should get the same answers. All right. But now we're going to use substitution. We're going to use elimination. All right, so the first thing we do is we take a look at our x's and our y's, and we determine which one is the easiest to eliminate. So if I simply multiply this second one here by negative 2, I can get the same coefficient with a different sign in front of it, which is what I need in order to use elimination. So if I use negative, so I'm going to rewrite this one. 3x plus 2y is equal to negative 9. And now I'm going to multiply this by negative 2 and get negative 4x minus 2y is equal to positive 14. So now when I add these, the y's are going to cancel. And I get negative x is equal to positive 5, so x is equal to negative 5. So as you can see, I am going the same path that I was on the left-hand side. And at this point, we would follow. So here and here is exactly the same. And then we would follow the same steps on the left-hand side, write down both equations, solve for y in one of them, and check in the other. So elimination is really the way we're going to go today. This is called a 2-by-2, 2 equations with 2 unknowns. But where we're going to go in Algebra 2 is moving to a 3-by-3 with 3 equations and 3 unknowns. And the only difference here is that we will be bringing them down to a 2 by 2 to what we know right here, and then continuing on to find that last variable. It is a lengthy process, so making sure you're doing things neatly and organized, and even taking the time to write your steps out might be helpful for you. So pause the video before we move on. Okay, so let's move on to exercise 2. I'm going to slide this up. Like I said, this is called 3 equations with 3 unknowns. So we're going to consider this 3 by 3 system of linear equations shown below. Now, if you notice, I numbered them 1, 2, and 3. I think sometimes that's helpful. The only thing that I'm going to do is I would rather, when I number them and I'm doing them on my papers, I put a circle around them because it's just easier. I sometimes start getting them confused with multiplication with those parentheses. So I just think it's easier to do it that way. We're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to look at the x's, the y's, and the z's and determine which is going to be the easiest variable to eliminate. So if you take a look here, I seriously think the z's are the way to go. So if I add numbers 1 and 2, I can eliminate them right away. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to write this down as I do it, is I'm going to add 1 and 2. We're going to eliminate the z. And you can even write that down. Eliminate the z. And then what are we going to do after that? We're going to, remember, we did 1 and 2. You can't do 1 and 2 again, but you could do 1 and 3 and add those two together. So the second thing I'm going to do, so here's 1, here's 2. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 plus 3. And again, eliminate the z. So let's continue doing that part. So adding 1 and 2, so let's write them down. 2x plus y plus z is equal to 15. And we're going to write down 6x minus 3y minus z is equal to 35. Be careful you don't get those z's mixed up with 2's because it's kind of easy to do that. So when I add these, I'm going to cancel out those z's, and that's the whole point of this, and I get 8x minus 2y is equal to 50. Now let's do the same thing with 1 and 3. So we have 2x plus y plus z is equal to 15, and 3 is negative 4x plus 4y minus z is equal to negative 14. Beautiful. They cancel out again. Negative 2x plus 5y is equal to 1. All right, so now hopefully you're realizing, hey, I have 2 equations with 2 unknowns, and I am super awesome at solving them because we have been doing them in Algebra 1 for a long time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write them down. So 3 is going to be, I have a new 2 by 2 systems. And I'm going to take a minute and just write them down. Remember, paper is cheap. Staying organized is the key ingredient to success in these. 2x plus 5y is equal to 1. So I have this new 2 by 2 systems. So you know what? So we can stay constant. Let's call this one equation 4 and equation 5. And we're going to follow the same procedure we did on the front page. So we have to determine what we need to do in order to eliminate one of the variables. So the fourth thing I'm going to do, oh, I'm not going to use that because that looks like I'm using the equation 4. Okay, why don't we do this? So the fourth thing I'm going to do is how about we eliminate, I can eliminate the x. So we're going to multiply number 5 by 4. 4 times the equation 5, right? And then we're going to add 4. So what I mean by that is, let's just stay constant here. We're going to write 8x minus 2y because that equation 4 we're not changing. And we're going to multiply, and it might help you to do this. We're going to multiply that second one by 4, which is negative 8x. Aha, you see why now. Negative 8x plus 20y is equal to 4. And when we add them, they break up. They go away, which is a beautiful thing. So I have 18y is equal to 54. And y, if we divide both sides by 18, is 3. Whew, that's a lot of work, but we got one of them. But now we need to find the rest of them. So we're at step 5. What are we going to do? We're going to take one of those equations and we're going to substitute in 3 and find x. So in this one, I'm going to solve for x and I'm going to write in 4 because you can use 4 or 5, but I'm a kind of a girl that follows things in order. So I'm going to rewrite my number 4 and now I'm going to substitute in my y. 8x minus 2 times 3 equals 50. 8x minus 6 equals 50. Add 6 to both sides. 8x equals 56. Divide by 8. And x equals 7. Of course, you can show all these steps. I'm just trying to save a little bit of time. I know I'm doing it quickly, so at any given time, if you need to stop, pause, and maybe solve them a little bit more in depth, you do that. But we have our x now. So we have x is equal to 7. Okay, so we're getting there. So we have our x, we have our y. The only thing we need now is our z. So the 6th step I'm going to do is going to be I'm going to solve for z. And I'm going to do that, and I can use 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't matter. So again, I do tend to do things in order. So I'm going to use my 1. I'm going to rewrite it down just so I make sure I remember what it is. And writing down, making sure that you actually write down the proper equation is key here, folks. Something I've done, learn from my mistakes. All right, so 2x, which is 7, plus y, which is 3, plus z is equal to 15. So we have 14 plus 3, which is 17. So we have 17 plus z is equal to 15, minus 17 from both sides, and z is equal to negative 2. Now, once again, me personally, I'm pretty confident in these answers. They're good, solid integers, but you still have to realize that there are easily mistakes made with signs, and you should take the opportunity. So there should be a step 7 in here. I'm not going to do it today, but there should be a step 7 where you check it. And now, since we use equation 1, you should be checking it in either 2 or 3. Or if you really want to make sure you're doing good, you should check it in both. Okay? Remember, it will only take you less than a minute to check it. So, go ahead and do that. Pause, rewind, go back and watch that again. I know it was a lot to take in. So, I prefer that when you do these, you watch everything so step by step and then go back and write it down if you need to. Okay, this is going to be the end of day 1. I know this is a very long video, so I'm going to break it up into 2 videos. So we're 13 minutes in, so we're going to stop it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write end of day 1, so I can look for this when I am fast forwarding this. End of day 1. All right, so I can look for this when I'm fast forwarding. Hopefully I'll see that. I can hit stop and play and start my day 2. All right. So, I'll see you tomorrow. Make good choices. And we're back. So here we are, day 2 of 3.7 Systems of Linear Equations. And we're going to start with exercise 3. Now I'm going to do 3. I'm going to put 4 up there with the solution so you can try that one on your own before you come back to school tomorrow. So, I'm not going to talk my way through that one, so I'll just put 4 up with the solutions when we're done with exercise 3. So again, we're going to use the same procedure we did yesterday, and we're going to take it step by step. And if you want to do step by step, maybe today what I'll do is do step by step just in a row and not go back and forth, because like I said, staying organized is the whole key to this. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at my x's, my y's, and my z's, and try to determine which is going to be the easiest to eliminate. And, I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. What do you think? I completely agree. I think y is the way to go. So I think the y's are the way to go. So the first thing I'm going to do, number 1, is I'm going to add, okay, now if I add 1 and 2, what do I need to have? So these are my y's here. So in order to get rid of the y's, I have to multiply number 1 by negative 4. So I'm going to multiply 1 by negative 4, and then I'm going to add it to number 2. All right? So, and you might want to take the time to do this. So let's write down negative 4 times 1. The first one is 4x plus y. Now I can't tell if that's a plus or a minus. Minus 3. Z is equal to negative 6. And then I'm going to add it to, so that becomes negative 16x minus 4y plus 12z is equal to positive 24. And underneath it, I'm just going to write number 2. Number 2 is negative 2x plus 4y plus 2z is equal to 38. So when I add these go away. I get 18x plus 14z is equal to 5062. Okay, my mistake should be a negative 18x, right? Negative 16 minus 2. Something silly like that can throw your whole game off. All right, so there's my first one. So let's call this one 4. All right, so that's 1. So this one I'm talking about. Now, instead of going back and forth, I'm going to work straight down. So my second step is going to be, I have to create a 5. So I'm going to go back up and quickly look up here. And now, again, I have to try and get rid of my y's. So now this time I want to use these two. So if I use those two, that means I have to multiply the third one by 4. So multiply number 3 by 4, and we're going to add it to number 2. So I'm going to slide down. I'm going to use a different color so I keep things separate. I'm going to write 4 times number 3. So 4 times number 3 is, oh, I'm going to move it over. Let's move it over like I did the last time. 4 times number 3 is 5x minus y minus 7z is equal to negative 19, which now becomes, where are we? How about 20x minus 4y minus 28z is equal to 19 times 4, 76. Oh, negative 76. Now, I'm just realizing as I'm doing this, it would have been a whole lot easier to just add 1 and 3 together, and then the y's would just cancel out. So maybe you choose to do that instead, and that would be okay. But that's number 4. Let's continue on this route. So minus 20x, number 2, plus 4y, minus 2x plus 4y, plus 2z is equal to 38. So let's add these now. These cancel, and I'm left with 18x is equal, oops, no equal, 18x, don't forget the z's. 18x minus 26z is equal to negative 38. So now this becomes my 5. So now I have my 4 and 5. So my third step is going to be, here's 4, my system, my 2 by 2 system, negative 18x plus 14z equals 62, and my 5, which is 18x minus 26z equals negative 38. And nicely, if I simply just add these two together, I can come up with my, eliminate my x's and come up with my z's. So these cancel, and I'm left with negative 12z is equal to 24. So z is equal to negative 2. All right, now from here, you should be able to do this without a problem. We're simply going to take one of our 3's or 4's or 5's. So let's take 4. So this is our step 4. We're going to solve for x and solve for x, and let's use 4 this time. So negative 18x plus 14z is equal to 62. Negative 18x minus 28 is equal to 62. Minus 18x, add 28 to both sides. And we get, 28, and we get 90. Divide both sides by negative 18, and x is equal to negative 5. All right, so then from there, you're simply going to go to number 5, and you're going to use 1, 2, or 3 and solve for y. So this is going to be step number 5. We're going to solve for y. Let's say we use 1. So this becomes 4x, which is negative 5, plus y. It's like a minus 3z. Z is negative 2 is equal to negative 6. So you get negative 20 plus y plus 6 is equal to negative 6. And when all said and done, y is equal to 8. And of course, I told you we are going to have a step 6, which I am not going to do for you. But step 6 is going to be check it in 2 or 3. Okay? Class is letting out, so I am now going to switch over. You can pause this, rewind it, but I'm going to go over to, it's getting very loud, and I'm going to go over to our next exercise, which I went too far, and I'm going to just leave it here for you. So you can take time and go over it. Slowly but surely. Try it on your own, and try to do each step the way that I did. I really tried to make sure that I did it step by step for you. All right, so again, I'm going to just bring it down here. Keep bringing it down so you can see it. I want you to pause it and make sure that you are doing this properly when you go back and do it on your own. Okay? So like I said, I did that really fast. I'm not expecting you to be able to copy that fast or even do it that fast, but I am expecting you to try it on your own. Take a few minutes, pause the video, try it on your own, and then see if you come out with the same answers. Okay? Remember, please stay organized. The homework for this is pretty intense, and I'm going to give you a couple of days to get it completed, but I am expecting it done, so please make sure you're spending time on it, even if you only do one a night from that last page. Okay? Whew, that's a long one. So I will see you tomorrow, and have a good day, and make good choices.